So as you take a moment to find a restful position on your back, I'm going to touch base and remind you of some of the philosophies of somatic movement based off of Hannah Somatics. It is mindfulness and gentle and controlled movements. We will take the body into a movement and out of a movement with slow, steady control. That action is called penticulation. Penticulation is like when we watch a cat or a dog get up from a long, cozy nap. And they stretch and they slowly articulate and move slowly. That is penticulation. What they are doing and what we are doing is increasing awareness in movement. We are helping the body remember what movements it has forgotten. We are reconnecting and realigning, allowing our system to have a neutral and natural reset in muscle tension. So as you rest, having a pillow under the head or the knees, just allowing yourself to feel the support of the floor or whatever surface you are laying on. Allowing yourself to be curious, inviting yourself to move a little differently here in today's session. We are all very good and very well at making movements. What I'm going to invite you to do today is to be a little more curious with your movement, allowing attention to be in it as you move into it and as you move out of it. We're going to look for sensor motor amnesia. What is sensor motor amnesia? It is when we make a movement and it's not soft and fluid. It's almost like it hits little speed bumps. And so it jumps or it jars or it goes quicker. It is out of control. It is missing information in the movement. And so if when you're doing any movements today, you feel that sensor motor amnesia, those jumps or speeds, recontract the position and take it through again. That is what is going to help you rewrite and re-inform your system of a controlled movement pattern. We are working with everyday movements in this session today and in all sessions. So allowing yourself to be curious after our time together, noticing how movement feels different. If there's more range of motion, is there more fluidity? Is there less tension? The reminder also is we do not want to continue to do something poorly or with pain. So being very mindful, if there's any pain or discomfort, stop. Reposition yourself, rest a moment, and move slowly again. If there's still pain, stop, reposition, let the system rest. And even just doing the motion in your mind's eye is so much better than doing it incorrectly or with pain. So allowing yourself just to take in that information, allow yourself to do things differently today. Letting our bodies find the restful position, allowing ourselves to notice what areas of the body are resting on the floor. And through the soma scan, notice what areas slightly feel like they're hovering. Notice where there's tension. Going through the legs, the hips and pelvis. Lower back, noticing if it's arched or flat on the floor. Noticing how our breath reaches areas of our body or doesn't. Is it deep or shallow? Bringing notice into the arms. Does one feel heavier than the other or longer? Tense or not? Noticing if the hands are rested on the body and beside the body or further out. If the palms are up, down, or on their sides. Moving focus into the shoulders, noticing if they're up to the ears or up to the ceiling or down to the floor. Really allowing yourself just to notice. Moving into the neck and head and face. Noticing how the head is resting on the pillow or the floor. Is it tilted back or forward or to the side or the other? Noticing if there's any tension in the face. Allowing your focus now to move down your spine all the way to the lower back, hips and pelvis. Noticing, does one hip feel higher than the other towards the armpit or the ceiling? Does one feel more condensed into the floor? Allowing yourself just to become aware of your soma. And soma is body. Somatic is the interiorization of the experience. Witnessing your system. Noticing through the legs if one feels longer than the other. Heavier, more tense. All the way to the tips of the toes. Just allowing yourself to notice. It's not necessarily about resetting. It's just having a guideline, a basis for where we will look back to. Taking a breath or two here. Allowing yourself to bring your feet flat on the floor so your knees are pointed to the ceiling. And you can play with the position of the feet. Some like them a little wider or a little closer or a little further away from the glutes. Seeing what feels most stable and supportive for you today. Allowing the glutes and the quads to soften, let everything rest. Noticing if there's any tightness in the jaw or shoulders, allowing them to be soft. When you're ready, we're going to do a tilt and flatten. And the tilt and flatten is a breathing technique. We can place our hands on our belly to feel, or leaving them resting on the sides, whatever feels right for you. And so when we take our next breath in, we're going to breathe in, thinking about our belly button rising to the ceiling. And as we exhale, feeling it drop, noticing the change in the back body. Breathing in, belly button rises to the ceiling. We might notice the tip of the tailbone drop down to the floor just a little. Breathing out. The back body will lengthen, allowing yourself, when you get to neutral, to contract the abdomen just a little to connect the back to the floor. Breathing in, belly button rises to the ceiling. Tip of the tailbone rocks down, gentle arch occurs in the back. And as you breathe out, past neutral, gently contract. The tip of the tailbone will rise up to the ceiling and the back will lengthen and flatten on the floor. Breathing in, belly button rises. You might notice your shoulders move with this. Invite softness and breathing out. In through the ribs, letting your focus be on the tailbone, breathing in. Belly button rises. Breathing out. Contraction in the abdomen, back flattens. Breathing in. Just allowing yourself to go through just a few more cycles of this breath at your own pace. Breathing out. Allowing your focus to be on the tip of your tailbone, noticing how it rocks or doesn't as you take these breaths. Invite yourself to be soft through the shoulders and through the ribs as you breathe in and out. Let your neck and your arms and your pelvic floor soften. One more cycle here. And when you're back at neutral, just letting your breath flow naturally for you in this moment. And allowing yourself to stretch your legs long if it feels right for you. And bringing your awareness now again just to notice how it is laying differently on the floor. Are there more areas connected to the floor? Is there a different quality to the tension? Your arms can be resting wherever is comfortable for you in this time. I'm going to do what is called the hip hike. So starting with the right leg, we're going to think about shortening the connection of the hip to the armpit. So taking that right leg, keeping it along the floor, and raising that hip up to the armpit. You might even notice that the armpit might go down a little bit to the hip, and slowly with control, lengthen that leg back to neutral. And when at neutral, allow everything to soften and everything to rest. There's amazingness when you notice how many muscles can get engaged to do one simple action. So allowing your shoulders to soften, and when you're ready, slowly with control, hike that hip like you're holding a box or a child on your hip up towards the right armpit, and slowly with control, lengthening it back to neutral. When at neutral, again, allow everything to soften and everything to rest. And so if you recall, we talked about sensor motor amnesia. On this next motion, I'd like you to really pay attention, if you haven't already, if there is any. So slowly contracting the hip up, noticing if it has any jumps or jars, or it goes faster in one area. And then when you're ready, slowly lengthen that hip and leg back down to neutral, noticing if there's any jumps and jars. If there is, recontract into that hip hike and work through that missing information. And when you're at neutral, allow everything to soften, everything to rest. You may even feel inclined to set the feet back on the floor and reset the pelvis. You just listen and honor your soma. Remembering if there's pain or any discomfort at any time, to stop. Remembering that less is more. And so we're going to move now on to the left side. Thinking about hip hiking that left hip up towards that left armpit, keeping the leg along the floor. And slowly with control, watching for any sensor motor amnesia, recontract if necessary and take it through again, that missing information. Remembering that sensor motor amnesia can be jumps or speedy movements. They are where there's missing information in the movement. So slowly with control, bringing it back down to neutral, allowing everything to soften, everything to rest. Checking the whole body for any contraction or engagement that has happened, and allowing it all to soften. And again, when you're ready, hip hiking that left hip up towards that left armpit, and slowly with control, watching for sensor motor amnesia, recontracting if necessary. And going at your own pace. Sometimes as I might walk you through 3, you might only do 1. I highly recommend slow and controlled. And so 3 is typically the max that we want to do in this modality. Really honoring the curiosity. And when you're back down to neutral, allowing everything to soften and everything to rest. Checking into those shoulders if they've gotten a little activated or tight while you were doing that motion. And again, we're going to, when you're ready, remembering to breathe as we do all this as well. We're going to take that left hip and hike up towards that left armpit. We might notice that we can lengthen that right leg as we hip hike that left hip. And slowly with control, bringing both hips back to neutral, watching for sensor motor amnesia. When we get to neutral, we're going to come with our focus over to that right hip and hip hike that right hip up towards that right armpit while lengthening the left leg. And slowly with control, taking that right hip to neutral and that left hip up to neutral. When they both meet in the middle at neutral, slowly extend that right leg and begin to hip hike the left hip. Watching for sensor motor amnesia in these movements, and honor your body. Help rewrite the missing information. And one more time, slowly with control, lengthening that left leg. And when at neutral, rise and hip hike that right hip. And slowly with control, back to neutral. Remembering to breathe, and when at neutral, allow everything to soften and everything to rest. We're going to continue on with some leg movements here. Letting your breath flow in and out at your own pace. Allowing your legs. We're going to do one at a time. So we're going to externally rotate that right leg from the thigh. And so the knee will draw outward to the wall on the outside. And the foot may slide up. We can also call this single leg butterfly. And so externally rotating from the thigh. And the foot, the sole of the foot will turn into the left leg. And slowly with control, you can begin to glide the side of the foot up towards the glute along the floor. The sole of your foot of your right leg may connect to your left leg as it glides up the inner side, and only go as far as comfortable. And slowly with control, extend that right leg, allowing the leg to slowly with control internally rotate back to neutral. Allowing yourself to really watch for the sensor motor amnesia. And if you have a yoga mat underneath your legs, you might want to roll it up so your foot can glide with ease along the floor. And when you are back at neutral, remember, allow everything to soften and everything to rest. All the muscles that got engaged. Now when you're ready, we're going to move to the left leg. We're going to do the same, though on the left leg. So from the hip, externally rotating the thigh. So the knee will go out towards the side wall. The ankle will turn gently. The sole of the foot will turn up. And you can move your ankle along the floor as your thigh continues to externally rotate, gliding the sole of the foot up through towards the glutes, and it may be along the leg as you do so, or it may not. Just allowing it to move up as far as is comfortable for you, remembering less is more. When you get to the top position, slowly with control, begin to internally rotate the leg as you lengthen the leg back down to neutral. Neutral for this is our starting position. Watching for any sensor motor amnesia. And when you're back at neutral, allow everything to soften and everything to rest. Allowing your breath to be what it is, allowing it to move, allowing yourself to be present. Allowing everything to soften. We always want to start from a neutral position. So when you're ready, we're going to engage both of the legs together. So externally rotating both legs from the hips, knees turning out towards the wall, ankles will turn in so the soles of the feet will come together. Slowly with control, because yes, we can do this motion quickly with ease a lot of the time. What I'd really like for you to do is slow and control. Notice if there's missing information even coming in to this position. If there is, re-extend and then continue. Help rewrite the missing information. And going only as far as is comfortable. When you're at the top position, allow the system to see if it can soften.
See if it can rest in this position. And when you're ready, slowly with control, extend the legs out, beginning to internally rotate the thighs, gliding the feet back along the floor, taking your time, watching for sensor motor amnesia. You might even notice if you have a hip trauma, the body might kind of tighten up and recontract. Even that, if you can, give it space. And what I mean by that is recontract if it feels right for you and take it through that motion again. Or allow it to kind of jump if it feels like it needs to jump. Let the energy move that is stored in the hips. And when you're back at neutral, allow everything to soften and everything to rest all through your body. One more time with the butterfly, slowly externally rotating from the thighs in the hips. The soles of the feet will come together. You may glide the feet up towards the glutes. It's not about how far you can go. It's about can you move with control and slowly extending out back to neutral, watching for sensor motor amnesia, recontracting if there is any. Listen to your body at this time. Give it space to be heard. Remembering to breathe. Allowing it to release in the way that is right for you. Watching the control as you get to the bottom end of the movement. Allowing yourself to control all the way through. When you're at neutral, allow everything to soften and everything to rest. Taking a breath or two here. Again, just allowing your focus to notice through your body. Notice how it might be laying differently on the floor. Again, trusting your own soma. If it's uncomfortable in this position, allow yourself to move. And when you're ready, we're going to do the internal rotation, also endearingly called knock-kneed. So we're going to internally rotate. We're going to start with the right leg. Internally rotate from the thigh. So the knee will drift in towards the left leg. The heel of the foot will roll along the floor, and your toes will be pointed in towards your left leg. And if it feels right for you, you can internally rotate a little more by lifting the hip gently and slowly moving the foot in an arch along the floor on the right side. This is very important to think less is more. It's just increasing the internal rotation of the hip. When you hit the position that feels like max, slowly with control, allow your leg to lengthen and externally rotate back to neutral. And when you're back at neutral, allow everything to soften and everything to rest. Taking a breath here. And we're going to do that motion one more time on the left side, or on the right side, sorry. Really allowing ourselves to witness the internal rotation from the thigh through the hip, as the toes and the foot turn inward and the knee turns inward. And a very gentle, if it feels right for you, allowing that right heel to glide along the floor as the hip internally rotates a little more. You may create a little arch along the outside of the right leg. The heel of the foot will glide along the floor. And slowly, with control, allowing the leg to return to neutral position, watching for any sensor motor amnesia. And when you're at rest, at neutral, allow rest to occur. Allow all the muscles that got engaged to soften. Letting our focus move over to our left leg, taking a breath here. And when you're ready, we're going to internally rotate the left thigh from the hip. So the knee will turn in, the foot will turn in, the heel will change position into resting more on the inside of the heel. And slowly, if it feels right for you, you can create a little arch or line as you internally rotate a little more. Remembering less is more, and slowly with control, bringing your leg back to neutral. And allowing everything to soften and everything to rest. Remembering to breathe, taking your time, listening to any sensor motor amnesia as you go through that motion. And one more time on this side. Internally rotating from the hip. You'll notice the thigh turn in, the knee turn in, the foot turn in. And slowly, if it feels right for you, you can create that little arch along the outside of that left leg as the leg internally rotates a little more. And slowly, with control, honoring your soma, watching for sensor motor amnesia, bringing it all back to neutral, taking your time. Remembering to breathe. And when you get back to neutral, allow everything to soften. Every muscle that got engaged in that motion. Taking a breath here. When you're ready, we're going to do both legs in internal rotation into knock-kneed. So from the hips, rotating the thighs in so the knees turn in towards each other and the toes and the feet turn in towards each other, almost like you're pigeon-toed or knock-kneed. Allow yourself to notice what you notice. And if it feels right for you, you can gently take both legs into those gentle arches, or just staying in this position can be more than enough. And when it's right for you, slowly with control, bring it all back to neutral, watching for sensor motor amnesia. And some days you might be able to do the arch and others you can't, and that is perfectly okay. We just want to honor our body where it is today. And watching for any sensor motor amnesia as we move back to neutral. And when we reach neutral, we're going to turn our legs into butterfly. So externally rotating from the thighs, the soles of the feet will gently connect and come together. Gliding along the floor, we can move those sides of the feet along the floor, up towards the glutes, and slowly with control, returning our legs to neutral, watching for that sensor motor amnesia. Recontract if there is any. Help the system relearn the movement. And if you've reached neutral already, we're going to turn the legs again into knock-kneed. Taking the legs and internally rotating, creating a fluid motion as you do so. From internal rotation to external rotation, allowing your body to do this combination 3 times. Just at your own speed, listening for any sensor motor amnesia. And if there's any pain, remember, stop. Let everything rest and start again. This is the opportunity to do things differently. Remembering to breathe. And when you're back at neutral, allow yourself to allow everything to soften. And everything to rest. Allow your breath to be noticed, how it is different. Allow yourself to become aware of how you are laying differently on the floor. And when you're ready, I'm going to have you bring your knees into a bent position, placing your feet flat on the floor. Adjusting your yoga mat if you need to. Adjusting the hips. And letting yourself notice how things feel different. And if you remember back to when we did the hip hike with long legs, know that if it ever feels curious to you, you can do hip hike with bent knees as well. So even just seeing what that feels like here and now. Gently hip hiking the right hip. And slowly with control, bringing it back to neutral. And then gently, when it's at neutral, begin to hip hike the left hip. You'll notice the shift in the knee positions. And slowly with control, bringing the hips back to neutral. Hip hike that right hip again. Notice if you can draw your attention into your sacrum as you do this. Notice how it may move or may not move as you hip hike and change positions with the left and right hips. And allowing yourself just to notice how that feels different from when we had our legs long. And when you reach neutral, allow everything to soften and everything to rest. And we're going to do the technique called wash rag now, allowing for a very gentle twist. Remembering that we want to toss out any of our previous learnings of stretching or Pilates or any other movement classes in general. Allowing ourselves to be present and allow ourselves to do things differently. So I'm going to have you bring your arms out to 90 so it's almost like they're in a big T. And we're going to have one palm up and one palm down. Starting with the right palm up, we can gently allow our head to turn towards the right. If we have a hoodie on, we may need to adjust the position of the hood so the head can move freely. So rotating from the shoulders, and if this is the first time of you doing wash rag, I really just want you to listen to it first before you try. And so we really want to rotate from the shoulders and not the elbows. We're going to rotate, changing the hand position. And as we change the hand position, we're going to turn our head gently towards the palm that is facing up. And as we do so, rotating from the shoulders, you'll notice as the palm changes to the downward position, the shoulder will arch gently to the ceiling. And as the palm is facing up, the shoulder will drive into the floor just a little. Changing the head positions as we change the hand positions, allowing fluidity, really allowing ourselves to witness if there's any sensor motor amnesia. Remembering to do the rotation from the shoulders and not the elbows. And when we're in the position looking to the left hand that is up and the head is turned left, we're going to gently drift the knees to the right. We may want to adjust the feet so they're a little closer together. See if that feels just a little different. Really watching. It's not about how far we can go. It's not about how big of a stretch we can create. It's from this position, can we, with control, bring our legs back to neutral as we slowly rotate from the shoulders, changing hand positions and head position. Allowing ourselves, when we get to neutral and our head begins to drift right, our knees begin to drift left. Remembering to breathe as we do this. And when we end at that position, slowly with control, changing hand positions, rotating from the shoulders, allowing the head and the legs to turn to neutral. And when we begin to look left, our legs will gently look right. Again, honoring if there's any pain or any discomfort. Less is more. Doing any of these motions in your mind's eye is more productive than doing them with pain or without thought, without attention. And one more time, allowing yourself to go at your own pace, watching for that sensor motor amnesia, rotating from the shoulders, allowing the head to turn one way and the legs drifting to the opposite, rotating the shoulders, hands changing position, head and neck and knees to neutral. And then when you are back at neutral, everything to soften and everything to rest. If it feels right for you, allow the legs to go long and do a soma scan here. Noticing how the body may be laying differently on the floor than it was before. And when you're ready, we're going to have you turn onto your left side into the position as if we were sitting in a very high-backed chair. Our knees will be at 90. Our toes will be out in front, so if we were to look past our knees, we could see our toes. And checking your back body. Is it straight? Is it in a very high back chair? Noticing if your your top shoulder is glided, tilted slightly forward past your neutral point, or is it resting back, even allowing yourself to notice. And when we say the neutral point, we think about the hips being our alignment. Is your shoulder in front of your hips, or is it behind, or is it at neutral? Wonderful. Noticing again that shoulder that is laying on the floor. Is it in line with your hip, or is it farther forward or farther back? We're trying to line up the spine in a neutral position in relationship to our hips. So our knees are at 90, our toes are out in front, our head can be rested on a pillow or our arm, whatever is comfortable for us. When we're ready, we're going to lift that left arm up and above our head. If it's right for the shoulder, you can tuck the fingertips around the head so they almost reach the right ear. And we're very gently going to think about taking a breath here and allowing everything to soften and everything to rest. When we're ready, we're going to gently, slowly, with control, lift that elbow, head, and neck up off the floor. And slowly, with control, bringing it back to neutral. Really being mindful of being in control all the way back down. And then allowing it to soften and rest any muscles that got engaged. Now we're going to engage the leg. We're going to think about that internal rotation again. So rotating from the hip, the knee will kind of go into the other leg below. The foot of that left leg may rise up away from the other, and slowly with control, watching for any sensor motor amnesia and honoring that, and recontracting and taking it through again. And when you're at neutral, allow everything to soften and everything to rest. Taking a breath here. And when we're ready, we're going to engage both of them. So lifting that head, neck, and elbow up off of the floor and internally rotating that top leg, thinking about shortening the line between the armpit and the hip, and slowly with control, bringing it all back down to neutral, allowing yourself to witness and recontract if there's any sensor motor amnesia, remembering that less is more. Small controlled movements are better than big flip-floppy ones. When you're at neutral, let everything soften, let everything rest. Taking a breath here. And one more time, when you're ready,
Lifting that head, neck, and elbow up off the floor, internally rotating that top leg, thinking about shortening that line between the armpit and the hip, and slowly with control, lengthening that line and allowing everything to return to neutral, watching for sensor motor amnesia, recontracting if necessary, slow control all the way down to neutral. And once you've completed that, allow yourself to lay on your back, slowly finding yourself in position on your back, letting the legs be long, and notice, is there a difference between the left leg and side body and the right leg and side body? And taking a breath here. And when you're ready, we're going to turn onto our left side. And by left, I mean right, because we want to do the opposite side of which we just did. And allowing ourselves to find that big, tall chair, being mindful of our knees at 90 so our toes can be out in front, that we can see them. Noticing if the back body is aligned with the hips, aligned with the shoulder on the floor, as well as the shoulder above. And when we're ready, we're going to reach the left arm up and above the head. And so the fingertips can wrap around if it feels right for your shoulder. They may touch the tip of your ear. And slowly with control, lifting that shoulder, neck, and head up off of the floor. Thinking about that line between the armpit and the hip, and slowly with control, bringing it back to neutral. Remembering less is more. Watch for that sensor motor amnesia, recontract, and honor your system. And when you're back at neutral, allow everything to soften and everything to rest. And we're going to draw our attention to our leg now, thinking about internally rotating that top leg from the hip. We may notice the foot rise from the other, and slowly with control, return the leg back to neutral. Control all the way down to when the foot is resting on the other. Watching that last little bit of area for control and awareness. And allowing everything to soften and everything to rest. When you're ready, we're going to engage them both together. So lifting the head, neck, and elbow up off the floor as we internally rotate that top leg, thinking about shortening that line between the armpit and the hip, and hip to armpit, and slowly with control, lengthening that line. Control all the way back down to neutral, watching for any sensor motor amnesia. Being sure that you control it all the way back down. You don't want to have it close and then just go and release it. We want to control it all the way down. So when we're at neutral, allowing everything to soften and everything to rest. Taking a breath here. When you're ready, internally rotating that leg, lifting the head, neck, and elbow up towards the ceiling. Remembering less is more in the motion, and slowly with control, bringing it all back down to neutral, watching for sensor motor amnesia, the jumps or the speed ups, recontract if there's any, and help the body relearn the movement, controlling all the way back down to neutral. When you're at neutral, allow everything to soften and everything to rest. Taking a breath here. And last time, internally rotating and lifting that head, neck, and elbow up off the floor, shortening that line between the armpit and the hip, and slowly with control, lengthening that line, allowing everything to return to neutral, really watching that last little step if you're there already, controlling all the way back down to neutral. And when you're at neutral, allowing everything to soften and everything to rest. I invite you to move back onto your back, taking a moment to have your legs long and notice what's different. Taking a breath, and when you're ready, bringing your feet flat on the floor so your knees are bent up to the ceiling. I'm going to allow ourselves to do that tilt and flatten, that belly breath again. I'm just taking a normal breath here. And even as I speak through it, allow yourself to go at your own rhythm. And so breathing in, noticing the arch of the back, your shoulder blades might drop down to your hips and your hips up to your shoulder blades. And as you breathe out, notice the lengthening of your spine. Breathing in, belly button rises to the ceiling, gentle arch in the back, tip of the tailbone will go down to the floor. And breathing out, once at neutral, contract the abdomen a little bit so your back body connects to the floor. Breathing in, belly button rises to the ceiling, gentle arch, tip of the tailbone goes down. Breathing out, tip of the tailbone goes up, back body lengthens, contraction in the abdomen as you exhale. Back connects to the floor. And one more time. Breathing in, belly button rises. Let yourself notice, can you be softer in the shoulders and the upper ribs? Breathing out. Allow yourself to breathe at your own pace. Just notice how it's different than it was before. I'll invite you to lengthen your legs long again. Allowing your arms to rest wherever it is comfortable for them now. Taking a breath here. And beginning your soma scan to notice how it is different than when we started. Allowing yourself to notice what areas are connected to the floor now that were not before. Noticing in through the legs if the tension is different. Noticing if you feel broader and softer in through the hips and glutes. Noticing if you have a different arch in your back than you did when we started. Noticing if your breath feels fuller and can reach a little farther than it could when we started. Bringing our focus up to our shoulder blades.
Noticing if they feel different than when we started. Noticing if the positions of the shoulders feel like they're a little farther away from your ears and more connected to the floor. Letting your awareness move down your arms, seeing if they're in a different place than they were before. And if they feel longer or softer. Moving your awareness up into your neck and your head and your face, just noticing how it's different. Is the position of rest different? Is the quality different? And moving down your spine, noticing if there's more connection and awareness all the way through your spine. Noticing into your hips, if they feel more neutral, if they feel different than when we started. Moving down the legs, all the way to the soles of the feet. Allowing yourself to notice the subtle changes. Allowing yourself in the following days to be curious how your movement is different than it was before. And inviting yourself to notice if you can move differently. If you can move with intention. And taking your time to lay on your side. Whichever side you would like. Taking a moment of ease to move slowly so you don't get dizzy. Allowing yourself to find a seated position when you're ready. And taking a moment to notice how things feel differently. And thanking your body and your mind for participating in a different way today. Thank you.